Hi, folks. I'm Greg McLawsen, the Affidavit of Support lawyer. I've spent the past 10 years representing green card holders in federal litigation to enforce the USCIS Form I-864. So, what's the hardest thing that we encounter in I-864 lawsuits? It's kind of counterintuitive, but the thing that can make these cases the hardest is when we have inexperienced defense counsel. Well, that's kind of counterintuitive. So, litigation is adversarial, right? It's plaintiff, that's who I represent, plaintiff versus defendant. So, you might think that as the plaintiff's attorney, what I would want would be an inexperienced or even bad lawyer on the other side. If you think about high school football, in a sense, one team would want the other team to be bad because then the good team can just railroad that game through to a victory and win, and it's great. But that's really not how it works in lawsuits, even though lawsuits are adversarial in a sense. Lawsuits are also kind of a cooperative enterprise between the two parties in the sense that what you really want to be doing is problem solving. The plaintiff has a problem, they have a legal claim that they're trying to seek redress for. They're trying to, in this case, recover financial support from the defendant. And what makes that process go the smoothest is if both attorneys on both sides understand what the issues are and can distinguish real issues from kind of the noise. Example that comes up all the time in affidavit of support litigation is that these are typically, not always, but typically lawsuits between one spouse against a former spouse. A marriage has gone bad. My client, the US resident, is now typically divorced and is suing the former spouse for financial support. Bad defense attorneys are somehow unable to separate out all of the drama that has transpired in that marriage, which is totally legally irrelevant from the federal claim. They can't distinguish that from the narrow, legally relevant issues that are at stake in an affidavit of support lawsuit. The issues in an affidavit of support lawsuit are, did the sponsor sign the affidavit of support? Yep. Did the person get residency on the basis of that affidavit? Yep. Following that, the only issue relevant in the case is what my client, the plaintiff's income was. And that's it. Bad blood in the relationship is just not relevant. So inexperienced attorneys will plead all of these defenses relating to what I'm calling the drama of the relationship. I had a conversation yesterday with one of these defense attorneys who had pled, I think it was something like 12 different affirmative defenses is what they're called in one of my affidavit of support lawsuits. And I was telling that lawyer, look, every federal court to have looked at this issue in the past 10 years has told you already that these defenses are not allowed in these lawsuits. And his response was basically, yeah, I've seen that, but I don't understand their reasoning. And so we are going to waste a bunch of his clients' money fighting and getting those affirmative defenses thrown out of court, whereas a good defense attorney would understand that under the Belovich decision, under the Leo v. Mund case, under the Erler case, federal courts are not going to allow those affirmative defenses. And so we can just not waste time on those arguments when you have an experienced defense attorney. Experienced defense attorneys will, I'm saying defense attorneys with experience, will focus the effort clearly and early on in getting the issues narrowed, not made more complex, but made more narrow, so that we can focus on a fair valuation of the case, get the thing resolved without spending a bunch of time in court. I have a case out here on the West Coast, another I-864 enforcement case. It's been going on for over a year. We did what we always do, which is start the case with a settlement offer to the other side. After over a year of litigation, the defense has never once responded with their counteroffer. And the inexperienced attorney in this case keeps getting madder and madder and madder, because he's saying, Judge, look at these guys. They're wasting all of this time litigating this case. It ought to be resolved. And what can we do? We have offered this defendant the opportunity to settle. The defense attorney thinks that there are all of these issues out there relating to the marital relationship, which have no place in the affidavit of support lawsuit. We, the plaintiffs, have put settlement offers on the table. The defense won't accept it. In those circumstances, the only thing we can do as plaintiffs' counsel is either give up, which isn't going to happen, or press the case in federal court, where we will be successful. And it's going to cost the defendant a lot of money, because there is a fee shifting provision in these cases. So if the defense attorney wants to make issues out of nothing, to put all of this focus on the marital relationship and create all of these irrelevant legal issues to be fought about in these cases, all it does is drive up the cost that the defense is going to have to pay for at the end of the day. And it's kind of like that idea of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. We can put fair settlement offers on the table, but we can't make a defendant accept it. So if the defendant is getting bad advice from their attorney, and the attorney says, I think we're going to be successful if we just keep fighting based on, allegations of marital fraud, which are not relevant. If the defendant's hearing that, sometimes you get situations where the case goes on and on because the defense team throws up all of these irrelevant issues. They're going to lose eventually, but it just wastes everybody's time in the meantime, including the court. So that is without a doubt the recurrent frustrating issue in these cases is defense attorneys who don't have experience in I-864 litigation and can't distinguish the genuine issues from mirage issues that don't belong in these cases. So if you are a sponsor and you are getting sued under the Affidavit of Support, do yourself, and it turns out everybody, a favor and get yourself a good lawyer who has actual experience litigating these claims, not some criminal defense attorney or tort lawyer who's never looked at the immigration statute. Find yourself somebody who has actually litigated one of these claims. And a lot of attorneys federally licensed attorneys will take cases outside of their home district because they can get what's called pro hac vice admission and appear as a guest attorney in other jurisdictions. So even if you can't find somebody locally with experience in one of these cases, that doesn't mean that you might not be able to hire somebody from out of your jurisdiction to come in and help you out in the case. So this is my plea as plaintiff's counsel. Do yourself a favor and get a good lawyer. Don't get somebody who's going to waste your money and fight about issues that aren't relevant in these cases. If you have generalized questions about the Affidavit of Support, feel free to jump into the comments. I'm happy to answer virtually any question there that is of a general nature. If you would like a confidential case assessment of your rights under the Affidavit of Support as a green card holder, reach out to me on our website. I do free video consultations all over the United States every day. Hope that's helpful, and stay well, everyone.